Okay.
Welcome back to Football Insights, the podcast where we break down the performances and tactical battles in the beautiful game. In today's episode, we're taking a closer look at Bafana's hard-fought draw against Czech Republic. Was it a point gained or 2 points dropped? We'll analyze the team's overall performance, the tactical approach, and the standout players. So much to unpack, but before we get started, Eli, you're a new guest on the podcast. Can you just tell us a little bit about your journey, and then after that, give us your thoughts on the game?
Okay, thanks for having me. Uh, Started the analysis part 10 years ago, did a couple of courses and did some volunteer work with the FA and the other football data institution. And fast forward with Asante Kotoko past 3 seasons.
What was your thoughts on the game?
Well, very interesting game. Looking at how Bafana set up, comparing it to the last game against Mexico. Mexico. It was much improved performance, and the offensive part of Bafana's game was more visible than the first game. So in all, it could have been much better, especially with maybe better decisions in the final play. This is a good point to build.
Musi, what's your initial thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think it was a good game, especially the second half. It was the, I would say, the shape that we're used to seeing our team play after starting the first game with a back five, three and a two, and then starting this game in a 4-3-3. And at halftime, taking off Jaden Adams, bringing on Rele, going back to a 4-2-3-1, which is how I think we played for most of the qualifiers. I think it's how we've been accustomed to the national team playing. And I think you just saw also the physical capacity of the team. I think Czechia were getting tired from 65, 70 minutes onwards. We were dominant on the ball and still need to create a bit more chances in front of goal. But overall, it was a much better performance than the first half and a much better performance than the previous game.
Speaking about tactics and formations, Czech Republic did something quite interesting. Is they played a 4-3-3, but when they defended, they went into a back five. Gulam, what did you make of their shape?
I think from the previous game, the shape is not too different in how they orientated the team. So they almost have these wingbacks who propel much higher up the field. And that you could see evidently in the first half or first 20 minutes caused a good few challenges for us defensively and struggling to manage what we say as the overloads, whether it's central and then the high and wide wingbacks at certain points. And I think key for us, which we struggle to do a little bit, is when the ball was on one side to overload and press so that they can't find the outlet on the other side. And they did that quite well. The close combinations, and then to find the ball played to the underloaded side. And then that created the moments for them to either find runs behind or the cross into the box. I think that caused a little bit of challenges. But yeah, in terms of us in possession, what I did like is that regardless of what happened in the first game, for me, it's not so much about the shape that much. We still tried to play. And obviously, it was much better in this game.
Carl, what did you make of the formation change going back to basics from the 5-3-2 we played in the first game?
Yeah, for me, I think, and we spoke about this in one of the previous episodes where we kind of had a very similar squad, and the squad was kind of predictable because of the way we were playing. Like our Musi spoke about what we used to playing, the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3. So it's more familiar with us, and it looked like we were a lot more comfortable playing in that shape and that formation. And then obviously, the personnel of the players that's now on the pitch, because your shape has changed. You have someone like Apollos, a winger that now wants to come inside and create a central overload. You have that, and you have Maseko on the right side, giving you the width on the side with Madao underlapping potentially, or vice versa. So when we move back into the shape that we're familiar with, you start seeing more of our strengths coming out, because that's the profile of the players that we had on the pitch matched what shape we wanted to play today. And I think that was the key factor for us today. Much better performance in my opinion as well. And obviously, with it being a World Cup, you're not going to get many chances, and I did feel that we created better chances, or better attacking opportunities, if I can say that. And I think it's also a result of the way we set up the team in terms of shape and formation and personnel.
Mario, when the lineup came out, it looked like Maseko was going to play on the left, and then when the game started, it became evident that he was on the right-hand side. You've worked with Maseko before. What is his best side?
Yeah, I think he can play on either side. He's comfortable as a line player. When I say line player, either left or right. I like him on the right-hand side to come inside to his strong foot, obviously. He can obviously give you a dink pass in behind. He can shoot by coming inside. But he's versatile, so he can adapt to play on either side. And he's a key player when it comes to space. Space either to receive the ball into or space to dribble into. So, yeah, I thought it was a good move by the coach, and I thought he actually played quite well, and he deserved the penalty as well.
At many points in the first half and a little bit in the second half, Ronwen chose to go long. Do you think that was us suffering from nervousness from the last game where we made a mistake for playing from the back? Or do you think that was the plan, Gulam?
I think they would have wanted to build up from the back, but the way Czechia pressed and the way they attached to Tebza, to Jaden, kind of affected that a little bit. What I did feel is they were able to use the direct ball as the outlet. It's a pity we couldn't retain that possession. And if we could, it would have probably worked out a little bit better. And as the game progressed, what I thought we did a lot better on those balls was the midfield had time to get closer and then support to try and contest still for the second ball and then win the ball higher up the pitch. And that probably gave us more impetus but controlling the game a little bit more in the opposition half. We saw Ronwen try to play a few balls behind, and I think someone said it earlier about them getting tired, and I think turning the defenders, making them chase the speedy wingers, whether it was Tapelo, whether it was Maseko, Apollos or Iki, it gave that ability. So even the attackers who were pressing higher had to then transit defensively. So using the energy to then later on help us in the game.
Very early in the game, Czech Republic took the lead. For the first goal, can we unpack that? Because Madao has to deal with three players. Ocon doesn't track the runner too well. Eli, what was your thoughts on the first goal? Could we have prevented that?
Yes, definitely we could have prevented. Looking at the organization, especially from the throwing, knowing that is one of their key strengths, you realize that the defensive line was a bit high, leaving that space behind. Also, it being a throw-in, there's no offside. So then Ocon tracking the marker, which was the first error. Then after that, covering the spaces up, which also didn't go so well, especially with the left fullback, that's Modiba, covering those spaces, and then it ended up in a goal. So I think it came from series of mistakes that could be avoided.
Carl, what did you make of the first goal that we conceded?
For me, it's the same thing. If it's a throw-in, so there's no offside, and I think we need to go with that attacker, and we can't allow him to go in behind. I think it starts with that, and then we also have to look at how we recover our second defensive line recovers to cut that ball on the D line. And then also you have to also consider the fact that both our centre backs got pulled out to the side, which leaves Mudau alone in the box. And to be honest, he tried his best to close down and press it and do something, but it's difficult when it's 3 against 1. And then obviously, like I said, if that second line had to react and recover but quicker, we could have had extra numbers coming into that defensive line just to maybe create some control. But for me, it starts from the throw-in. Are we switched on? Are we ready? Follow the runner. There's no offside. That for me is the key thing. And once you stop it there, the knock-on effect doesn't happen. But yeah, you have to follow the attacker and you have to go with him.
Yeah, exactly. I think the one thing that for me is just a bit stands out now is that this is obviously the second goal we concede at the far post with numbers being outnumbered. And I think early on in the second half there was a 3v2 centrally. I don't know if any of you guys saw it. I can't remember actually what happened when the cross came in, but again I looked at that and I was like, either there's a run from midfield that's not being tracked, or there is a situation where one of our fullbacks is being pulled out. So I think that's just the area of concern, which I'm sure they will address. Why is it always at the far post we are outnumbered? And opponents play in different ways, but they seem to be finding the same areas to hurt us. And so it's something that I think they will need to address, especially for the last game.
Sorry, Carl, before you go on, also, if you think back to one of the chances Mexico had against us last week, came from a throw-in as well. And also the second line in the cutback, and then I think it was Jimenez that hit the shot and then was saved. Not similar, but the same principle where they take the ball down our left-hand side, put the cross in, and then there's a bit of a cutback and a shot at goal. So again, maybe that's something that we can look at as a trend and see what we can do to change in the defensive side of the throw-ins and just how we follow the attackers and how we defend that.
Also, it's the effectiveness of the throws, because I would assume, and when they looked at Czechia, maybe they didn't take a lot of quick throw-ins, and I think the quick throw-in caught us off guard because maybe they were expecting a long throw. And again, Musi highlighted it's been ready for every moment, and Kyle did as well. You have to adjust to the moment immediately. Don't anticipate something. Anticipate what could happen as well.
Completely understand. Although I was going to touch on that. Czech Republic showed us in the first game just how good they are with long throws. Is this something that we should have anticipated, if not prepared for, or can you just not predict everything in football, Mario?
If it's happened in the previous game, obviously you have to identify it, you have to work on it. It might not happen in the game, but rather be prepared for it. I think majority of teams in the last maybe 6 months, 9 months, if we look at the EPL, for example, look at someone like Brentford, look at Arsenal in terms of throw-ins, how many goals do they score from those throw-ins? Sometimes it's a direct ball into the box. Sometimes it's a smart short throw-in with a combination. Musi spoke about it in terms of a short throw-in that's in order to cross with numbers inside the box, and how you free your player on the side, but also how you free the player inside the box. So I'm sure we identified it and I'm sure we worked on it. Again, sometimes it might not happen, that long throw, but rather do the homework and be prepared for it. And if that situation comes up, you're prepared for it.
Eli, would it be fair to say for 2 games in a row now, we've conceded early, we've not been able to see Bruce's plan?
That's maybe a yes and a no. A yes, mainly because we've seen glimpses of what he's tried to do. It's just been unfortunate that due to the early goal, the emotional part of the players is seen more. So the plan, especially in the first halves, have not been the best, or we've not seen it clearly, but rather in the second half, it's come out more clear. And especially in today's game, the second half with Mofokeng coming on, he gave a lot more to the team in terms of possession.
And in the first half, it felt like we were struggling to break them down. There was a lot of shots from far ranges. Musi, can Bafana break down a low block?
Yeah, I think we can. I think when the players who can do that are on the pitch, we can break a low block. I think, obviously this game would have been perfect in my mind for Themba Zwane and Rele at the same time, especially in the second half when things opened up a little bit more. And Czech was a bit more hesitant in going forward. I think that would have been ideal. I think one thing that we just had to accept, obviously, is even when we got into the final third, especially in the wide areas, it almost felt like there was no point in trying to cross because, you'd have maybe Iki in between two really tall players, and so the cross wasn't coming in, which is understandable. But in terms of us being able to break a block, we can do it. I think also there's an element of trying not to force losing the ball in those advanced areas so that we don't receive counterattacks against us. But I have no doubt that we're able to break a block. The only thing is just that we're playing against opposition that is really, really well organized. At this level, the defensive shapes and the defensive patterns of these teams are really at a top level. There was one counterattack actually we broke out on, and by the time we got the shot off, or the attempted shot, and was blocked, I counted 3 South Africans in the box, and I counted 7 Czechia players, who had all tracked back. And so at this level, it's really a game of minute chances and taking those opportunities.
Gulam, do you think we can break down a low block?
Yeah, I do think we can. And we saw towards the latter end of the game when we were able to, I'd say, tire them down, and we could control the passes, control the connection networks between one another, and they weren't able to be as physically confrontational as they were. They were winning a lot of balls with advanced defending in the first half or first 60-odd minutes or so. But what was key for me is the relationships, is the Relebohile relationship became evident in understanding each other's strengths in the final third and how to connect. Similar with Tebza, finding, they haven't been playing this season, but finding Maseko, finding Iki in those earlier passes. And then the closer the midfield is to you to support when you're under pressure or counter press, the easier it is to manage the possession phase higher up the pitch. And when you can control the ball and move the opposition's block from side to side with a little bit of patience, you will eventually find the pass. It's like the one they found to Apollos, which almost went out for a corner, but the official got it right. Then there was Rele who found Apollos a little bit on the left. And there was a moment in the first half where Apollos tried to play. I think it was Iki through, and they never read each other in the moment. And the ball was just cut and played out. So the relationships became important. And I want to agree with Musi in a different sense. I think the timing of Rele coming in was important because the spaces were a little bit bigger. But if he had started, I don't know if he would have been as effective. But a Rele and a Shika on the pitch at the same time would have been really interesting in this game to control those passes between when they are pressed, they're able to play in those tight spaces, those pockets, nice and neatly. And we got out of a few 4v2 presses really nicely.
Carl, do you think Rele made a big impact in the way we played? Because it felt like the team were more comfortable in that second half, especially in possession.
Yeah, I definitely feel he had a positive impact on the game and the team as well. I said this in one of our first episodes where I was excited to see how he steps up in the World Cup. And he's a really talented player and he's able to find spaces. And we also have the players that can find him in those spaces, and I think that becomes important because the positions that he was taking was good positions because it creates questions for the Czech defense. Just based on also we're talking about beating the block. I actually thought that in the first half, the way the Czech Republic pressed, they went with a bit of a man-marking press and just went all out and followed everywhere. And I think because of the way we play and we have rotations, it tired them out quite quickly. And when they got into a block, I feel like when we had them in a block and we had possession, we created more attacking threat because we were able to find the 10 pockets and we were able to find half spaces. We were able to create those rotations that creates problems, and that favors us because it favors our style of play. And when Rele comes on, because he's mobile and he's always moving, looking for a space, and now the Czech Republic defense has to rotate and shift and move, and that creates openings, and you find yourself keeping the pressure on because they're not able to pick up those runs and that movement. And then obviously based on what Musi and Gulam has said with the relationship between Apollos and Rele, it becomes impactful and becomes something that we can start looking for and start looking to get into that box and into the final attacking third. So yeah, I do think Rele was a key move. He did have a good impact, and he also, for me, the intensity kind of lifted a bit when we were in possession and we got into those final third areas, because, and it's not just because of him. I think he has an impact on it, but the others also kind of feed off that and then build and see that we can potentially go more and take on more, dribble more, put the cross in. And I think that's the positive energy that we need, especially when we're in possession and going into attack.
Mario, heading into the 80th minute of the game, the commentators on SuperSport were saying, why is there not more players in the box? You need more numbers in the box. Is that a misconception that sometimes that fans and even commentators have, that the more players you put in the box, the bigger chance you have of scoring a goal?
I think you still need some control and composure. There's still time to play. I thought we also, after we got the goal, the equalizer, I think our speed of play, you could see there was intent. We wanted to get another, and it built more confidence. And I think if you look at the game, at the end of the game, you can see there was one side that was stronger than the other. And I thought we looked strong. And I think going into our last game of the group stages, I think confidence will be high, and I'm looking forward to it.
Throughout the game, Czech Republic were very dominant on set pieces, and we were quite fortunate that some of those headers went over the bar. Do you think Bafana were fortunate, or do you think that's just football?
I think they did well to control it. I think in preparation for this game, you could clearly see that they knew that they didn't have the height advantage. But the way they defended the situations were very simple. There were a few where they connected with the ball and almost scored from it. However, you could see from the organization, especially those, the last corner kick they got, it was still controlled, not too much a threat, but they had a control there. So I'll say the simple things. They had organization right. Just that with the height difference, you definitely know that there will be a few that they would connect with. Good organization.
Musi, in the 80th minute, at that time, I wasn't sure where our goal was coming from. Did you see a Bafana equalizer coming?
I felt obviously the momentum was with the team. I think we were going at them consistently, and I didn't know how the goal was going to come, but I thought there would at least be attempts on goal, because if you look at the through ball that was played to Apollos, where he just miscontrolled it and went out a couple of times. Mudau got in behind as well. One was offside, so things were just opening up. Rele was in and around the perimeter of the box, controlling play. Short passes between each other, whether somebody's going to get taken down or there's going to be a handball. Mudiba, we have interplay. Mudiba shoots and it's blocked. That can easily deflect into goal. So there was the pressure was mounting on them. I didn't think we were going to score from a corner, because it's a bit difficult given the physical abilities of that team. But I just thought something can come from the instances that we are creating inside their box, whether it be a foul, which is a penalty like how we got it, or whether it's like a deflection or a shot that goes between the legs and goes in, or somebody, Rele's shot was just under hit, which the keeper's half saved and spilt a little bit. So the momentum was definitely with Bafana, and once you're in those areas, you're more bound to create, you're more in a position to create chances and to score.
Carl, did you see a equalizer coming at that time?
For me, it's what Musi says. The momentum was with us, and it's you can say from there that we can create chances and score from that. So yeah, I did feel that we had it in us to score. There was a big phase in the second half where I can't remember exactly the times, but there was a long phase where we maintained pressure and we kept the pressure on them, and those are the moments where you create your chances and something happens. We just want to talk about a little bit. Musi spoke about our attacking set pieces. What I liked was we played our set pieces based on our strengths. We didn't put the
Yeah.
ball in the box. We looked to play short. That chance that we speak about where Apollos miscontrols it, it comes from a free kick, played short and then back inside. So these
Yeah.
are the things that I liked seeing that because we actually took and looked at our team and said, okay, how do we create our best chances? And we included the set piece and said, we're going to play short, we're going to look for a combination and then try and play the ball from there. So I think the goal was always going. I felt like we were always going to get a goal, because even in the first half, I felt that we also had a good chance where I think it fell for Reyners and Maseko at the same time in the box. I think it was the two of them. Good football, good attacking play. We get down the side, play the ball inside, and then also I think there was something that we missed a lot in this game was a cutback because their line just kept dropping towards the keeper and the D line was always open, and there was chances where we could have cut back also. So I mean, these are the things that you look at and you say, but we are getting in behind them, we are creating something. So the goal can come. So yeah, I do feel that the goal was going to come. I didn't expect it to come from a penalty, but I thought it would be an open play. That's where I thought we would score.
Kulam, who was your standout performers today from both teams?
I don't want to talk about the opposition team. I want to talk about Bafana. I think coming back from the previous performance, all 11 players on the pitch really, really put their hand up and performed well. The start of the game we spoke about was a little bit unsettling, conceding the early goal, but that didn't seem to derail them from the objective of the game. And I think all of them, like I said, put their hand up. They all performed well. They all were persistently participating. You saw Chebza at times unfolding a little, like when he got booked, maybe a little bit too aggressive and unfolding a little bit late, but they knew they had to stop them from the transition. So there's those moments. There was the one with Talent where there's the argument with the official and then he got booked. So those moments I think showed character. You saw Aubrey getting stuck into tackles. You saw Oswin getting stuck into tackles. And as long as you aren't backing off in the game, you're showing heart and character, coming off the Mexico performance. And for me, I think all the players, even Makgopa came in, did well. Rele, we spoke about, came in, done well. So these are all positives that we need to take out of the game going into the next one.
I think it was a team performance, from the goalkeeper to the striker, even the substitutes as well. I think what summed it up for me was Tebza's penalty. You can see it's a team that's there's brotherhood there, there's unity, there's togetherness, and I think that can block the noise as well. And you could also see the relief after the penalty, but it's big moments like that can change the tournament for the team as well. And he's a big player and he stood up, and I think that summed up the team performance.
I would go with the man at the back, TLB. I think most of the 1v1s that he faced, he came out on top. And just the passing that he was putting through from his defensive position in the box or just outside of the box, finding Oswin, maybe the control wasn't good, but he found 2 or 3 players almost right into the final third, with a pass through the narrowest of channels. And it just highlights again when we played the game against Mexico, when he was playing wide on the left, we missed that pass. And, his importance for us in our play, along with Ronwin's play out as well, is very important. So to be honest, I'm going to go with TLB, but equally, I was really impressed by Ime Ocon today as well. I think under pressure, under press, his control was good. He came out of tight situations. He won some 1v1 battles, and also similarly, he didn't make the long passes on the ground like TLB, but he made some forward passes that were missing from the last game.
Eli, we have an internal bias as South Africans towards TLB. What is your verdict on Umbakazi, and do you think he can be in Europe's top 5 leagues in the future?
Absolutely. From the game that they played against Mexico, just like Musi said, he struggled playing in the left center back position. But in this game, you could see even in the build-up when he had to stay wide to open up the central corridors for those inverting, he was very good in managing the distance. There were some situations where when they lost the ball, his anticipation was quick, and then he could quickly recover and help out. So definitely with that type of character and the left foot, he may be able to give good passes in build-up situations. He has a high ceiling.
In our next game, we have to win, and we come up against South Korea. Carl, do you think we're going to see a more aggressive approach because we have to win from Bafana from the first minute?
I don't think it's a question. I think we have to. It's a do or die kind of game, and you have to go out and take the game to South Korea and actually like put your foot down and stamp of authority to say we here and we want to try and win it. I don't think it's a thing of we should or can. We have to. We have to start really well when we have to try and put them on the back foot immediately. But to do that also, I do think that today's game our intensity was better. But I think it needs to be higher if we're going to play a game against South Korea, especially on what's on stake for us or at stake for us. We have to take the game to them and we have to start really well. Last two games shown that we didn't start well, and I think if we start well against South Korea, let me rather say this: if we settle earlier and we settle quicker, I think we'll be able to potentially get a result. So yeah, it's not a question. We have to come out guns blazing. We have to.
Gulam, do you want to see a more attacking approach against South Korea from the first minute?
I want to say yes, but I want to also say we must not be overly emotional, because when you become overly emotional, then you end up conceding early chances or conceding early goals again, and your back gets up against the wall much earlier. I think with South Korea, the intensity, like Kyle is alluding to, will be better from their side, and maybe even prolonged throughout the game. So it's whether we can match that. But I do feel possibly that the physical aspect of the game may not be as intense. So we may have better chances to more moments. Let me not say better chances, more moments to control possession. But what is key, and we could see Czechia did it as well today. Even under pressure, long ball straight to the striker, it's dropped for a midfielder and it's played beyond already. And those are moments that will be key against South Korea. The technical ability that they have under pressure, first time passes, and looking for vertical options very, very quickly.
Saw that maybe just to add on to that, when we speak about like some new trends that we have seen, the England game yesterday as well, when Pickford was finding Kane and Kane would drop off from the centre backs and almost play in a 10 position, and he's got the technical ability to link up play, but once he combines with the midfield that's vertical and the two wingers are in behind immediately, so that was interesting. I think it's a good point.
Eli, obviously, you guys had a good start. I think it's the perfect start you'd want to your group, considering the last two games you guys have. How did you feel about Ghana's performance? And then obviously the next one is the big one. How do you feel about the team coming up against what looked like a really good England side?
Yeah. The performance, not the best performance, especially in the first half. We struggled to find the right movements to press, and we lacked that intensity. It's difficult because I'll blame it more on the preparation, because we lacked a lot of games leading up to the World Cup, and since then you came in, just had I think one game in the preparation to get to know the players, so that's also affected. That's going into the game against England. It's a difficult one. Would have to improve on a lot of things in possession, how especially we bring the ball out, which we struggle to do in most parts of the game, and also most of the parts during the transition. Looking at how England set up against Croatia, we'll definitely be looking to play on the counter, and that as well could bring even more problems for us, because then if we decide to sit back and then we concede an early goal, The question is, do we now open up and then be more aggressive in our offensive side, or we still maintain our shape? That's to sit back and counter. On the face of things, it's looking like we could bring out a good performance, but it all depends on how much we can improve within the short period of time.
Speaking about just moving back to the South Korea game, I've noticed in the last two games, our midfield we were up and against a man-for-man press. How do you combat something like that when you all three of your midfielders are being followed, Mario?
I guess there's a couple of ways, maybe at times that's what you want. And that's how you can open up spaces because they attach. And we've got players, Ronwin, we know his passing ability as well. So sometimes you want them to attach in certain areas and you want to open up passing lines, and then you can bypass the midfield and then play into a deeper position and gain territory. Maybe just one of the other things I found surprisingly this World Cup, the tournament has felt less about possession, dominance. It's felt a little bit more about control, being compact, playing on the counter, being adaptable. And a lot of teams attach man-to-man. And you can see our teams don't play through the press, maybe play over the press at times, but they don't want to play into midfield. And you can play a deeper pass and play off the second ball. So that's been interesting.
Hula, can we expose South Korea's weaknesses?
What are their weaknesses? They're such a proficient team. So what we have to is use our strengths more instead of trying to find ways to, because if their weaknesses are in areas we are not very effective, then what's the point? So I think we need to find the right combinations, the right control of the game. The big loss will be Tebza obviously in the game, and how we readjust to that with the intensity that he brings, the physicality that he brings to the game. So that will be the first adjustment, and how we adapt to that. But like we finished this game is to find the right players with the right balance and the right relationships. So how often can we find effective use of the half spaces, of the pockets between the lines, and how close can we be to combine and find a through pass or pass beyond the last line of defense, force a defender to unfold and have a run going beyond, like Sayle did once or twice, like Osman did once or twice, like Tapelo did in those individual moments where we know we've worked with him. He's very left-footed, but he did the step over and he actually had a very good cross with the right at one moment. So it's about those moments, and I feel for us it's more focused on our strengths to try and get the best outcome for the game.
Busi,
Yeah.
if we're going to go long against South Korea the way we did today, should we start Makgopa? Because he showed when he came on, he can win some aerial duels, which actually helped us get in behind once.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily think that's just the reason to start him. Obviously, the fact that he had such an impact when he came on is going to give the coach, one or two thoughts maybe about bringing him on as a starter. But obviously, the physical challenge aerially that we have against Czech Republic is not necessarily the same that you have against South Korea. And so even against Mexico, I remember a couple of balls were hit direct to Reyners, and he managed to win those balls, So I'm not going to say that's the reason why he should start. I think he does also offer more in the sense that when we do get into those wide areas, there's a ball that we can play, somebody we can look to, because he's very much a 6-yard occupying kind of striker, And so I'm just impressed with the effort that he gave. I think Gulam mentioned it earlier that coming off the bench, he was, quite a problem to deal with. One of the balls I remember, he tried to control it. It bounced over him. He managed to physically push the defender out the way, get back onto the ball again. That kind of strength and that kind of tenacity, maybe we have been missing. But I think any player who starts for us up front has to be willing to run. And the one thing I like about Evidence is he's willing to run with and without the ball. I think today we got into a few positions down the left-hand side where Rangers made the run in behind and the ball wasn't played, and sometimes you just play that ball, even knowing that he might get tackled there, but you just want to keep those center backs working and working and working and working, So we have Rangers who does it, Evidence does it as well. So it'll be up to the coach who he selects, but definitely Makgopa put his name up to start.
Carl, do you think Makgopa deserves to start in the next game?
Yeah, I think if we look at the performance, we can only rate you on your last performance, and his performance coming off the bench was really good. But obviously, starting and coming off the bench is two different things. So, like Musi says, that has to be a decision that the technical team or the coach has to make. But I think Musi alluded to the fact that we have strikers that can do that. So whoever you start, they are able to do the job that is required. And I think if we allow the technical team to prepare properly and look at the game, I'm sure they will choose the right one and that will suit how we want to approach the game. I think it's easy for us to sit here and say, yeah, Evidence must start, but what if that's not the objective, to play a long ball to Evidence? It can be Ikram running in a channel behind, it can be Lal Foster running in channel behind, it can be someone dropping in as a 10. We don't know. We're not there. So, but to answer your question, Evidence did really well coming off the bench. He was very impactful as well. And obviously with Relé being there, Oswin being there, being teammates at Pirates as well helps as well, going back to the relationship thing. But at the end of the day, I think any of the strikers you put on, I think is going to be able to do what we want from them. That's my opinion.
Eli, how important will the mental side of the game be, considering it's a must-win game for Bafana?
Very, very important, because now it's a must-win game at all costs. In order to even stand a chance of qualifying as one of the best third place should Mexico or South Korea, depending on today's result. So it's going to be very important. And looking at the quality and the level of players that you have in the team, I think it's something that they'll be able to manage.
Mario, how do you see it from your side, the mental pressure that the players will be under?
I think after the performance and gaining a point, I think confidence will be high. And what I like about the last game is it's quite simple. You have to win the game, So the players have also dealt with games of consequences for club as well, and obviously for country. But I think we'll be up for it. And I do think, based on the performance, the way we've ended the game, you could see the release and the relief after the penalty as well. They'll be up for it. And I think we've got the right mindset to deal with that last game.
That's all from us on today's episode of Football Insights. I want to say a big thank you to the panel for their analysis and their insights as we look ahead to South Africa's crucial game against South Korea, but also reflect on an important draw against Czech Republic. Stay tuned for the next episode. Be sure to follow and subscribe to Football Insights so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What's your prediction for the match, and who do you think South Africa's key player will be in the game?